Okay, cause and effect. Determinism. Determinism is the implication of cause and effect. Cause and effect. You have the fundamental particle, the true atom. Democritus theorized about the atom, the indivisible particle, and then whoever it is discovered that particle, which we today call the atom, and theorized that it couldn't be split or something. But then it was split, and it was. But the true atom, the particles, these particles, whatever they are, interact in whatever way they interact, and then they form bigger and bigger particles until we get up to like the quark. Then the quarks become the protons, neutrons, electrons. Those then form the atoms. The atoms then form the molecules. The molecules then form the cells. The cells then form the tissues. The tissues then form the organs. The organs then form the organ systems, and then the organ systems form the societies, and that's just all, and that's all. I think that's all very beautiful. And the brain is just an emergent computer. The brain is just built up from, and the brain, and of course, is connected to the spinal cord. It's all kind of integrated. The brain is just. And the thoughts that go on in the brain are just a result of various chemical reactions. And you have all these inputs coming in. You have like all these senses, and you can look at look into the skin, and you can see, oh, here's like where when X stimulus goes in here, it releases X chemical, which causes the electrical shock up to the I don't know specifically how it works, but it's all just a series of deterministic feedback mechanisms, like a machine. A very complicated machine, but when you analyze any single part, it's all just mechanistic. It's all automaton, and so all these things go into like what we call the brain. Things go into the eyes, go down like that. The optic nerve goes into the parts of the brain, which then interprets the signals that are being sent, and that releases chemicals to other parts of the brain to have whatever reaction is that they need to have a reaction of. And another example would see like if a signal keeps being sent through the optic nerve, a part of the brain associated with sight, based on the chemicals released as a result of that image plus the reaction from other parts of the brain to that image, could cause you to go blind. Could cause that part of the brain to like stop seeing that image, right? To stop relaying the message to the other part of the brain because it's so horrible. So that's where the stories of people going blind after seeing something so horrible, and it's all a very complicated mechanistic reason why that happens. And consciousness. Now, I'm not I'm not even gonna go down that hole of consciousness here. I don't, like what the hell do I know? But one thing that I am confident of, take for that what you will, is that the consciousness is just going along for the ride, and that the consciousness is just the manifestation of the chemicals going on in the brain. And a source would be awesome for this, but I do know that chemical reactions going on in the brain precede the conscious thought. That is, the chemical reactions associated with a thought precede the thought itself, and so that's just another piece of evidence that the consciousness is just a manifestation of this deterministic emergent computer, the brain, and the brain being this and going all the way down the body. All right. Spinal cord is like integrated with the brain. Okay. What was I saying? And so it's all deterministic. And now my theory about the perception of free will is it's just that the brain that is the brain cannot calculate itself, right? Let me have an analogy. Like if you had a computer that could calculate the universe, that computer would have to be bigger than the universe, or for, like, because it takes more material to calculate something than it does for that something to be. Especially, like, for example, yeah, it takes more material to calculate something than for something to be. That's about as good as well as I can put it. Because if you're going to calculate every single, and you can create 3D models like of a pen. You can create a 3D model of a pen, but that 3D model is like a model. Like, it's going to treat, like, it's not going to calculate at atoms, right? It's going to calculate this like it's a solid single thing in itself that can break off and shard off. But they're going to treat this like plastic as it's a solid as if it's a solid single thing. It's not going to calculate at the not even at the atomic level, let alone any level lower than that. And so any calculation of these things is all modeling, right? And our world is incredibly modeled. And so if you have a computer that modeled the universe down to the the quantum foam, down to the fundamental particle, that computer would have to be bigger than the universe. Necessarily. Like advances in computing technology, okay, that's nice, but necessarily that is the case, because even if you get down to like transistors being on the scale of the Planck unit, it would still have to be bigger than the universe in order to calculate the universe down to the Planck unit, right? Okay. And so the brain cannot calculate itself directly. That is it's made up of all these chemical reactions going on, but it can't calculate the chemical reactions that are going on because there's just not enough space. There's just not enough process. It takes more resources to calculate a molecule, more than just a molecule, to calculate a molecule. Right? And so this free will, this consciousness, is just the brain modeling itself. That's my theory as to what it is. Anyway, Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux hates this stuff. He does not like determinism a bit. Now, determinism is true. It's like axiomatic. Even without the fancy gizmos and whiz-bangs we have today, there are people who deduced determinism. They looked at material, and they analyze it and they say, well, it behaves in a deterministic manner. And what are we besides some really complicated material? And they would admit, well, I don't know how the brain works. Hell, probably don't even know how the body works. I don't even know what this heart thing is. I don't know what this brain thing is. They may even think that the brain is just like a waste or something, or is like some parasite. But they could still be determinists. That is, they could still deduce that cause and effect. You swing it on a string, it goes like this, and it hits the other one, and it comes down like this, and okay, and they can deduce, and they can think, well, you can get down to really small things, get down to some like really small particles, and these particles certainly have to behave in a way that everything else I've seen behaves, and so I must be a machine, right? And they could deduce that. Now, given the nature of the free will, the intuitiveness of the free will, the intuitiveness of the model that the brain makes of itself, a person would be rather before say around 1500, it would be very difficult to be a determinist. It would be very difficult to there'd be a lot of doubt if you did that deductive reasoning, because all you would have is your axioms. You would have no scientific evidence for determinism like we do today. Anyway. And so that's why philosophy, up to this point, believed in free will, and this, and the soul. And even if you had later philosophers, they believe in like a mortal soul, in secular dualism. why does Molyneux dislike determinism? Because, well, morality requires choice. And what determinism does is it notionalizes choice. It turns choice from something real to something notional, to the model that the brain makes of itself. Choice is not something that exists. It's just a model that the brain makes of itself. Yeah, I already said that. And if you notionalize choice, morality is tied to choice. Like, for example, let's say you have like this volcano, and this volcano's shooting stuff and it's killing people. Would we then say that the volcano is immoral? No, you can't, because the volcano doesn't choose to shoot out this stuff. So you can't say the volcano is immoral. Now, what if you say that, well, nothing has choice. There is no choice. All is predetermined from the interactions of the quantum foam. Well, that destroys morality, and that is why Stefan Molyneux had such a vested interest in arguing against the the clear and obvious implications of cause and effect. No, and that's just one reason why morality leads to ideas of morality lead to corruption. Ideas of morality lead to corruptions in prescribing behavior, and it just leads to, because it's disconnected from reality, and the extent to which you're disconnected from reality is the extent to which there's going to be corruption. And that's all I have to say.